News Rants, a podcast about news stories that could get a bit ranty. All views expressed on News Rants are those of myself and any contributors. Hello, welcome to a special News Rants episode live from the News Rants studio. I'm Paul, you know who I am. So this is a special on the Department for Work and Pensions. So, I've come to the conclusion that the Department for Work and Pensions of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland is unfit for purpose. So, how are they unfit for purpose? Okay, so, here we go. I've had dealings with the DWP for many years, since they came into existence from the Benefits Agency, Department of Social Security, those sorts of organisations all merging into the DWP. Yeah. So, I know disabled people who have had to appeal for personal independence payments after being refused, despite the fact that they were actually eligible at the time. I've experienced it myself by going through that system, and obviously being refused, which was to be expected. So, I know what they do. They don't use medical professionals to do that. They use whoever they could just find off the street that claims to have some kind of medical qualification or knows about. Basically, they're just using, they call them advisors or something like that, I don't know. And then you've got, obviously, universal credit, which came from merging a load of benefits into one, including job seekers allowance, although job seekers allowance is still in existence to some degree. So, there's another problem. If you provide evidence for universal credit claims, such as proof of housing in my case, they will say, no, this isn't proof, this isn't acceptable, despite the fact you know, and they know, that it is. So I'm having that argument with the DWP at the moment, and I have actually made it implicitly clear that I will be going to the broadcast media with it. Which hasn't actually deterred them, and I've just uploaded the same proof I uploaded before anyway, because I'm actually having to claim universal credit at the moment, having been off work for 2 weeks with COVID, which hasn't been great. So, I don't like the DWP at all, the way they treat people, because it's just full of lefty woke civil servants that think they're all up on high and they know better than anybody else, which is, well, you know, rubbish. They don't. They don't know you. They don't know your circumstances. And, you know, it's just wrong the way they treat people. They're just... I've got another example. I'm not going to name names here. Someone else I know went to claim universal credit. Someone I know. Someone who I know can't work at all. And they were threatened with being sanctioned for basically not being able to work by job centre staff. This will be at the Richmond Job Centre. Richmond, North Yorkshire Job Centre. You can't do that. You can't sanction a person on universal credit simply because they are unable to find a job and work. That's not how it works. We're in a cost of living crisis and people might actually need this money. And you did not think of that. No, of course you didn't. Because you're never going to think of that, because you only think about yourselves, because you work as civil servants for the British government. You know, it's unacceptable. But like I say, I've had dealings with the DWP, Universal Credit, that side of things. So, I'm just going to go find a web browser. So, the Universal Credit was the brainchild of Sir Ian Duncan Smith, who was the Work and Pensions Minister between 2010 and 2016, which it was actually a wee bit better between the time that he was actually in charge of that. So, he came up with it, and it was better to begin with, but now look at it. Sir Ian Duncan Smith must be thinking, what the hell happened to my idea? So, yeah, he must be, because he's one of the decent politicians left. One of the few decent ones left. So, I'm having an argument with them myself, and I'm going to actually reveal some of the things that have been said to me so far. So, I'm going to actually log into the Universal Credit account now, because I'm going to read a few things off the journal. Okay, it has to confirm it's me, unfortunately, so I'll just hide my phone off the camera, because you don't want to be seeing that, for those who are watching on the YouTube channel. Oh, it's not letting me type. This will also reveal if they've actually responded to me in the last couple of hours, because I have actually responded to them again. Okay, accept cookies. So, journal. So we've got the latest one. I uploaded a letter from my landlord. It says that the letter does not state the rent increase, it just states that there's been a rent review. Is there another letter showing what this has been increased to? Ugh, it says how much my rent is. And that's from Gemma. And then Christine basically said, as previously advised, you need to provide evidence of the rent increase. And then Christine also told me previous to that, the previous housing costs of the last account reported at £400 per month. They have now been reported at £450 a month, which is... I responded to that. That wasn't hard, was it? Now, can you please clear it from the to-do list? Doesn't need to be there. And they refused, and that's what the next one was all about. They refused to do it. I told them that the information does match after the last message, which was, the evidence provided must match the information reported on your account. If the rent has increased, your landlord will need to confirm this by letter or with a new tenancy agreement, and that's what the letter was, confirmation of that. And they say if I disagree with it, to speak to my local MP, who's Rishi Sunak, who I don't speak to because he's unfit for purpose. He's unfit to do his job. And the original message that came in, also from Gemma, was, what you uploaded is insufficient regarding your housing costs. This letter you have provided has not shown the rent increase. And some feedback which I didn't look. And they deleted the original files. So, there you go. That's what they do to you. I'm obviously not going to show this live on the screen, because I don't actually know how to do that with OBS at this moment in time. So, yeah, that's kind of what they do to you. They're not fair at all. So, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, they are definitely unfit for purpose, and they need to learn that if you provide them evidence, that is the evidence that you're giving them. That was proof. I can't show the letter because that's confidential between me and the landlord, and also Universal Credit need to see it as well. So, yeah. So this is just going to go on and on and on. So, what's to be done? Wholesale reform. Sack everyone who works for Universal Credit, Job Centre Plus. Restaff the lot. I hope Liz Truss has that in mind, because I'm confident Liz Truss is going to be the next Prime Minister. So basically just sack everyone and completely reform the DWP. Because if you try claiming personal independence payments, you get refused immediately. You try claiming universal credit, well, they're just going to argue the toss with you and try and threaten to sanction you. So what can you do? Not a lot, I suppose. Yeah. So it is definitely an organisation that is unfit for purpose. And here at News Rants, we are going to investigate them. We're going to do what we can to reveal the truth of the Department for Work and Pensions. I'm not going to put all my effort into that because I do have other things that I must do as well, including my own job. So, but either way, they're going to be investigated and hopefully shut down. Because this is just not fair to the British people. Being a part of the government, they just don't care about the British people. They really don't. Because they're getting good salaries. They're getting paid an absolute arm and a leg to do this. Whereas the rest of us who might need that money struggle to get it. My tax from the income I do get from my job, which has been curtailed badly because I've been off for 2 weeks, which is why I'm applying for universal credit in the first place, is, well, you know, some of the tax money that I've paid over the years has gone into the system to pay the universal credit, so some of that money is rightfully mine and I would like it back. I do not want tax money to be wasted. And what about all those people who claim universal credit and don't stick to the commitment of finding work? Did not think of that? That's where they really need to be focusing their efforts if they want to keep the system clean, not going after claimants that want to claim because they need the money, because they are short, because they've been off ill with COVID, which you can't actually get a doctor's note for. But that's a different subject for another day. So I'm really just genuinely not happy with the Department for Work and Pensions, and obviously their suggestion of taking it with my local MP is not happening because he's too busy trying to win votes to become the next Prime Minister, which he's not going to do. And also, he's not fit to be a politician anyway because it's his fault this country is in the state it's in. I am, of course, referring to Rishi Sunak. So, it's just not exactly acceptable. I have told them I'm just going to keep uploading that proof, and if they keep deleting it, I'll just keep uploading it. Simple. Because it's the proof that they're asking for. If they think it isn't, then they're obviously reading from some kind of ridiculous script. I'm pretty sure they are. Because they're being told what to say. I'm not stupid. I know that. They're being told what to say. They'll say, oh, we need better proof than this. No, you don't. You've got the proof. Now crack on. If you don't like it, that's just tough. So, how about, like I said, reform the entire DWP? In fact, you could put me in charge of the Department for Work and Pensions. Everybody who's entitled to the right benefits will get the right benefits if I'm running it. Because I'll make sure no one gets sanctioned unless they're actually sitting on their ass doing nothing. I'll make sure people who are entitled to personal independence payments actually get it the first time of asking. And get what they're entitled to. See? I've already got it sorted. How to run the Department for Work and Pensions. Put me in charge of it. Get rid of the rest of them. How about that? How about that, government? How about that? How about that, Liz Truss? When you become Prime Minister, you've got a candidate here for running the Department for Work and Pensions. Because I can run the Department for Work and Pensions and make sure everybody gets what they're entitled to. I think some of the illegal immigrants coming across in the dinghies get money from the DWP as well. They won't ever be allowed. Fact. Because they're illegal. So there you go. It's just, you can't run an organisation and be threatening towards people. Because that's what's going on here. They're threatening towards people. They're risking lives of people. People have actually committed suicide. I've read this up, actually. When they've been refused PIP because they've missed an appointment through no fault of their own. It's out there in the public domain, that information. Just start looking for it. I mean, the system has not been fit for purpose for a very, very long time. And it's about time it was reformed. It has to be. Right now, in a cost of living crisis, the DWP needs to be reformed because pensioners might not be getting enough pension money from the state pension. I'm not sure what that is at the moment, because I've got a long way to go before I get there. People are getting threatened with sanctions for not being able to actually physically get a job because of various problems that will stop them from getting a job. And how about, I don't know, people not being allowed PIP at the first time of asking despite the fact they're entitled to it because you're hiring people who know nothing. That's right, nothing. Like I said, I've done that system and I was refused. I wasn't going to appeal it because, to be honest, I'm not exactly entitled to PIP, am I? No, I'm not. At least I don't believe so. Unless they could find some disability in my medical records that would suggest I would be. But to be honest, I don't think there's anything there. So, you know. Because, like I said, I know people who have had to go through the PIP system that genuinely had a requirement to claim that benefit, but were denied at the first time of asking. Even people who were quite obviously disabled and needed it. Yeah, that happens. It does. It does. I've heard about this. I know this. I know a lot of people that have got disabilities because I've been involved with that community. And I know how hard they've had it to get PIP. Then, of course, we go back to the universal credit thing again. I mean, the old incapacity benefit has been emerged into that as well. So there you go. So what do you do when you've got this universal credit system that isn't working and doesn't have the best interests of the British people at heart? Reform it. Because it doesn't have the interests of the British people at heart at all. I'm really disgusted by the Department for Work and Pensions. I'm really disgusted in the way they are acting. And I'm not going to rest until this comes to an end. Because it has to. You can't just go around threatening people, like I said, because that's what they do. They threaten people with having their benefits stopped. And then what happens? These people get into poverty, destitution, debt, and all sorts. They get behind with rent, get evicted from their homes. It all happens. It all has a knock-on effect. You can't make threats like that. The system needs wholesale reform from top to bottom. The real people that need to have any kind of state benefits stopped are the people that can work but are too bone idle to work. Yeah. But the DWP don't ever sanction the people that are too bone idle to work that can actually look for work, because they do the bare minimum they can to just meet the requirements and then just sit on their backside anyway. It happens. It really does happen. It's a fact. People are abusing the benefit system. It's wide open to abuse. And the people who really need these benefits can't get it because they're the ones that get sanctioned or end up in some kind of argument with the job centre or whatever benefits office they're having to go through. It has to stop now. You can't do this anymore, DWP. I've made it abundantly clear that I will be going onto the broadcast media, most likely GB News and TalkTV, and discussing this, because, let's face it, I don't want this to go on any longer. I want the benefit system to be giving the right money to the right people who need it, and the people who don't need it get nothing. Because they're not entitled to it. The people who are not entitled shouldn't be getting anything. That's people who can work but are too bone idle. That'll incentivise them into a job. The illegal immigrants, because I know they're getting money from the DWP. They're not entitled to it at all. They're illegal immigrants. They're not citizens of this country. They should not even be getting any money from our taxes. So that has to stop right now. Yeah. So there you go. It's just not acceptable. Has to end. And if it doesn't end, you know, I won't stop until it does. So, if anyone from the DWP is watching or listening to this, then I'm going to say this now. Your department is now under investigation by the News Rants podcast. The department will be investigated until such times as I see fit that reform has taken place. I will be getting FOIs and other things to find out what's actually going on within the DWP. And I'm not going to stop until I do get all that information. And it'll be broadcast on the News Rants podcast and any other broadcast media I happen to go on. So, there you go. DWP. Sort yourselves out, or your days are numbered. So there you go. This has been a News Rant special. I'm Paul, and this has been on the Department for Work and Pensions and the benefits system of this country, which is an absolute shambles. There'll be more on this topic in later episodes of the podcast and live streams, and you can catch the podcast on your usual places: Spotify, Apple and Google Podcasts. You can find us on YouTube, which you probably, if you're watching this in video, you've found us on YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter at NewsRants2022. We're open to debate on there, so if you think we're wrong, please say something to us. I mean, we've had people recently that have decided to block us because we don't agree with their values. There you go. And also, you can buy a coffee for me to keep the ranting going, actually. Bet you didn't know you could do that. So, you could buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/PaulMcGee1B. The B is in uppercase, but everything else is lowercase. Yeah, and that'll keep the rants coming. It'll keep me doing other things as well, actually. Because, you know. Yeah, so this has been a News Rant special on the DWP. Until the next News Rants.